I want to ask you, Prince Harry's writing a book. What do you think about that?
With Harry, I think he's got a lot to say, and I think Diana would be really proud of her sons.
I just want to know when you decided you were going to write a romance novel.
I decided I was going to write a romance novel 15 years ago. I think I'm fascinated in research I was doing for Young Victoria, the film I made, if you remember, with Emily Blunt and Rupert Friend. And that was based on my books. And so then I produced it with Martin Scorsese and Graham King. And Julian Fellowes wrote the screenplay. And I was so immersed in the fabulousness of the history of that period that I then decided I was going to write a novel. And I've always wanted to write a novel.
Are you a romantic at heart?
I mean, Kevin, it's Mount Everest high. I am such a romantic. I love, do you know what, Kevin? Actually, I really want to take your question seriously. Okay. I deeply believe in the romance of life, of the fact that my dogs are barking, but I love the fact that maybe it's storytelling, isn't it? Romance and storytelling is who they're chasing, and what was it, a letter that was being delivered to me with some really great news, you know? Or if I'm a romantic at heart, I have lived every girl's dream of marrying a prince.
Is there a little you and Lady Margaret, since you have lived this fabulous life and you have been a princess and all those things?
Kevin, there is no question about it. I like the fact that you've read the book, Kevin, so that's exciting. But Sarah Margaret, i.e. me, and of course there's Lady Margaret, who happens to be redheaded. And I think that when you are redheaded, you're deeply passionate about life and deeply in love with how intoxicating it can be. When you're thrown onto the public stage as a princess, it's pretty, you can't get better than that. I've always wanted all my life to be a show jumper, actually, and jump in the Olympic team for show jumping. Okay, so I did, but I was incredibly lucky to marry a wonderful prince and became a princess. So it's pretty great.
By the way, congratulations, because this is going to be turned into a TV series. Tell me about that.
I'd like this to be a series because I think Lady Margaret could run and run. I think there could be lots of different books about Lady Margaret. On the other hand, I have just signed a contract with William Morrow to do my next book. So 2 novels in 1 year is not bad, Kevin.
And being a parent and now a grandparent. How do you and Andrew grandparent together?
Well, it really annoys me because I spend my life my average age is 3 to 5 on my story time with Fergie and Friends, which I do every day at 4:00. Yes. It goes global into free into hospitals and care homes and day centers.
And very popular. It is very, very popular.
Thank you. And Hole in the Wall gang, shout out to them. But I look at the way he is with August, his grandson, and he's so good with him. I have sort of grandpa envy, he's really good with him. And I think, this is 3 to 5 is my genre, and yet you're really good grandpa. So he's a very good parent, he's a very good co-parent, and he's a very deeply kind man, and he has such compassion.
Are we supposed to move forward from there?
This novel gives us Bridgerton vibes. Was Bridgerton in the back of your mind, or were you thinking about Bridgerton at all?
The good news is Bridgerton came out after I'd finished my novel. Right, thank you. And so I have been, because I am a storyteller, I have been very much wanting to tell the drama. It's 24 meets Pride and Prejudice, really, this book. Yeah. And so therefore, that's why it's so deeply exciting that this character goes against the confines of 1870, where she was to be controlled by men. And Lady Margaret does not wish to be controlled by men. And I think there could be a little similarity between the author and her heroine, but just saying.
If I'm not to put all my eggs in one basket, I must collect more eggs.
The Duke truly has put your head in a spin.
I mean, look, you're right. And the way that she rebels and she says, I'm going to chart my own path is amazing. And that's kind of your life. That no matter what, you've charted your own path. regardless of what people say.
Yes. Now, Kevin, the great thing about that is that sometimes when you charter your own path and you follow your compass, you could hit a few storms, couldn't you? And the waves are quite high. And you don't listen to anyone and you just go for it. And I think at 61, maybe I have a much better understanding of the strength of my own voice now. And that's really pretty exciting. And it's taken me a long time to get to this voice.
Now looking back, all the storms, did they make you tougher?
When you're stratospherically sensitive, you take everything personally and you mind terribly. And living with being so sensitive never changes. So when the front pages were really cruel about me, I took it to heart, and then I believed it. And when you can keep your head when all men doubt you, Rudyard Kipling wrote If, and I never understood that they weren't really having a go at me. Bad Fergie was selling papers, and I took it to heart. And then I probably acted out being a self-saboteur or whatever it might be. I think in the time of the 80s when Diana and I were out and about, there wasn't social media. And so they really did have a really good go. And you didn't have time and you couldn't answer back. And so you just, it doesn't toughen you up, Kevin. It actually makes you have more empathy. And it makes you, well, in my case, and I remember my grandmother saying, when you feel bad about yourself, give to others. And I remember clearly when it was a really bad morning, you know, I don't know what the newspapers had written about me, something like 82% would rather sleep with a goat than Fergie, or something charming like that. And I went to an ALS conference up in Birmingham. And in the front row was a man from Australia who was in a wheelchair. And on the stage, everyone was, you know, I was very upset, and the front pages were awful. I mean, really bad, Kevin. And I went to talk to him, this man, and he said, you know, I haven't got out of my chair for a very long time, but I'm going to stand up for you. I can't walk because I have ALS, but I'm going to stand for you. Because, he said, I want to prove a point that we don't mind what they write. We just love you, Fergie, because you're prepared to shout and make awareness of our diabolical, awful disease. So do you think we mind? And I suddenly thought, gosh, Sarah, stop being so self-centered. You know, okay, so it's very bad and who's judging? But you're your worst judge. You're destroying yourself. When all these people wanted was me to shout out about we need to raise money and research for ALS. I've never forgotten it.
Wow. That's a powerful story. You know, you mentioned Diana, and The Crown is one of your favorite shows. You reached out to the folks from The Crown to say, hey, can I help you? Can I help you with the storylines? What do you think about The Crown?
The thing is Andy Harris was a friend, or is a good friend of my friend. And so I reached out to him actually to talk to him about making my book into a series, in fact. Right, because I thought, good, he's done so well with The Crown, he can do my series for me on Her Heart for a Compass, right? That's how I actually reached out to him. And then while I was on to him, I said, talking about that, if you want any help with the true story of my character, do let me know. Because I sometimes think that if the person's really alive right now and they're going to portray me as something else, I'd quite like to get the story right.
And you like that one because?
It's the most expensive.
No. Because it reminds me of my mother's engagement ring. And it's the same colour as my eyes.
Are they getting it right in The Crown? Do they get it right?
Well, I don't think I'm in it, so that's fine. I'm not in it, so that's okay. But I'm not like that, Kevin. It doesn't have to be about me. I'm in fact, Rachel Carhan at William Morrow, in the first run of the novel, she came back to me and said, I'd like to see my friend more and her strong voice and less of self-deprecating Sarah. I want to see the strong person I know her to be. And she was dead right. And I think the pandemic and COVID has taught me and given me a real tap on the shoulder and said, get on it. You know, you haven't got time, and that it's time now to go forward with a strong voice.
I want to ask you, Prince Harry's writing a book. What do you think about that? His book that is coming up.
Well, I think the fact that Meghan's written a children's book is really good. Well done her, because anyone that sits there with writing a book, it's really hard. I don't know, Kevin, whether you've written any books, but I've written 70 and I'm loving my writing, but it's hard because you have to keep it all in very condensed if it's children's. With Harry, I think he's got a lot to say, and I think Diana would be really proud of her sons and their wives and the grandsons, and you know, he's such a good boy. You know, I think in life that there's no question that there's far too much judgment, and it should be more compassion and support in every way on everybody. My mission statement of my charity is, you know, race, creed, colour, or any other denomination. We stand together and we fight for the right for a child to dare to dream. Well, you know, I think Diana would be so proud of her sons. And I, oh, by the way, it's quite funny. I was thinking that if Diana was here, she'd win the three-legged and the egg and spoon race with the grandchildren, because she always ran faster than me. But I might beat her to the bouncy castle, but the grandchildren wouldn't get a look in.
Do you know, this Thursday marks the 40th anniversary since Charles and Diana's wedding. What do you remember about that day?
Oh, that's so sweet, Kevin. No one's asked me that. Diana gave me the material to wear in turquoise, and it was beautiful. She loved me wearing turquoise. And that's really good you asked me that, because no one's asked me that question. And she was my best friend since she was 14 and I was 16. And she put me on Dome A, Row A at St. Paul's for her wedding. And it was the greatest, I couldn't have a better seat. And I was very proud that she'd given me the material to wear at her wedding.
Wow, and that was a beautiful dress. It's just that day was so iconic, and it feels like the entire world stopped to watch that moment.
And also, Kevin, hold on a minute. July 23rd, 86 was the entire country got a holiday that day to watch me get married in a glass coach. In a glass coach, can you believe? And white horses, and glass coach and white horses, and I was the last person to go to their wedding in the glass coach.
Wow.
I know.
Wow.
So you are talking to Cinderella.
Cinderella, you still live with your Prince Charming in a way. So how is that working? Is that, you know, you guys seem to do it in a perfect way.
Well, you're very kind. We are very happily divorced to each other. It seems to work. I suppose he understands that I have a lot to do in the world. I'm a philanthropreneur. I bet you've never heard that word before. A philanthropreneur from the heart. And my children have donated me to the world's children, and now they've donated grandma to the world's children too. It's just where I'm happiest to be, to fly free, to build my schools in Sierra Leone, Liberia, Ukraine, Poland, all over the place. And I guess that's why I started as a Red, and that's Budgie the helicopter. I just fly free. I'm very lucky to get on very well, but we do practice the 3 C's, which is communicate, compromise, compassion.
It's a beautiful thing to see, really, it is.